What's it made of? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Eric Miller from Northwestern University's NUANCE Center, and you're watching
What's It Made Of?
The YouTube show where we take normal, everyday objects and put them in an electron microscope in order to find out what different elements our sample is composed of. Today we're going to look at guitar strings. Now there are different kinds of guitar strings for different kinds of guitars. So to help us sort it all out, we have a very special guest today, one of the lab managers here at the NUANCE Center and guitar enthusiast, Ben Myers.
Hi, I'm Ben Myers.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ben.
I work here in the NUANCE Center.
Fascinating. So tell us what we're going to look at today.
Today we're going to start off with acoustic guitar strings. The sound of an acoustic guitar is produced by the vibration of these strings and amplified by the body of the guitar. We are going to compare different types of strings and see if they produce different sounds from the same guitar.
Well, that's really interesting. So besides these physical or mechanical properties of the string which allow them to work as guitar strings, there's this other kind of intangible quality that different kinds of strings are able to produce different types of sound.
Exactly. The musical term for it is timbre. Does it sound bright or dark, tinny or full? These, like you said, are intangible qualities that are difficult to quantify without lots of fancy audio equipment.
So I see you have a guitar there. Can we have a demonstration?
Sure. What I've done here is taken two different types of strings of the same gauge and strung them up next to each other and tuned them both to an A. So theoretically, they should sound exactly the same. Here's the first string. And here's the second string.
Well, they do sound extremely similar. However, in listening very carefully, I can tell that the first one sounds fuller and the other one sounds a little lighter. So how are these strings different?
The first string that sounded a little smoother and rounder was labeled phosphor bronze, also called phos bronze, while the other string that sounded a little bit brighter is 80-20 bronze.
Well, let's put them in the microscope and find out
What it's made of!
Well, the phosphor bronze string does in fact look like bronze, with about 92% copper, about 7.5% tin, and a tiny amount, 0.35% of phosphorus. So why is phosphor bronze so special?
Phosphor bronze is used for constructing different types of musical instruments and is known for producing strings with a long-lasting, balanced, warm tone.
Another thing I noticed about this string is that it looks like one wire coiled around a straight wire.
Yeah, these are called round-wound strings and are commonly used on many stringed instruments.
So is that center string different than the phosphor bronze one wound around it?
Well, I don't know, but maybe we should find out.
What it's made of!
Well, if we do a little mapping here, we can see iron most everywhere in this wire with a bit of manganese mixed in. But we're also picking up some other stuff too, like copper and zinc. And if we look for those, we see that they're only showing up here on the surface of the string, but not here in the center.
So it looks like the center string is steel with some manganese and it has a brass coating.
So why would that be?
Well, I can see how this makes sense now. The center string is the one that's being pulled tight when you string the guitar, so it needs to have good mechanical properties. However, bare steel is going to rust, so it has this thin coating of brass on it to prevent that.
Fascinating! Let's take a look at our other string now. Well, the label on the package says it's 80-20 bronze, but it looks like it's really 80-20 brass, with about 80% copper and about 20% zinc. So what's up with that?
Well, historically, the distinction between brass and bronze has not been entirely clear, although we now consider a brass as an alloy or mixture of copper and zinc and bronze as an alloy of copper and tin. So, calling the string an 80-20 bronze is not necessarily wrong, but it's more technically correct to call it 80-20 brass, which sometimes it is.
technically fascinating. Now, if we take a quick look at the straight wire that the 8020 brass is wound around, we can see it's exactly the same as the other string, manganese steel with a brass coating. What I'm wondering now is, how would these strings differ from strings on an electric guitar?
Well, like we said earlier, the sound from an acoustic guitar comes from the vibration of the strings, which are amplified by the body of the guitar. The sound from an electric guitar is generated by an interaction between the vibrating strings and magnetic pickup elements, which convert the vibration into an electrical signal, which can then be amplified and played over a speaker system.
And that means...
In order for those elements in the guitar to effectively generate sound, the strings need to be magnetic.
What? Put one of those acoustic strings on that electric guitar and let's see what happens. Do you think you can turn down the distortion a little bit?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Wow, you were right. The magnetic string puts out a lot of sound, but the non-magnetic acoustic string puts out way less.
So, if we put the electric guitar string in a microscope and look at the composition, we can see the coiled wire is about 95% nickel and 5% iron, and both of those elements we know to be ferromagnetic. However, only the steel core in the acoustic guitar string is ferromagnetic.
This is also a round wound string, and the analysis says that the center wire is iron and tin, which is a really bizarre sounding alloy to me.
That is a weird sounding alloy. Maybe it has a coating on it like the other straight wires.
You magnificent! Yeah, let's check that out. Yep, and it looks like we have another steel wire with a tin coating over it.
Again, the tin coating is probably there just to prevent the steel from rusting.
Wow, that was a lot of really confusing wires with layers and stuff. Can you give us a quick rundown?
Phosphor bronze strings are made up of a steel core wire with a thin brass coating on it and a phos bronze wire wound around that. 8020 bronze has the same brass-coated steel core wire, but it has an 8020 brass, not bronze, wire wound around it. Lastly, the electric guitar string has a steel core wire with a tin coating and a mostly nickel wire wound around it.
So there we have it! It's fascinating! If you have something you want us to take a look at, just put it in the comments section below. From Northwestern University's Nuance Center, I'm Eric Miller, and we'll see you next time.